Chair, we are recording and live.
Okay, thank you. Like to call the meeting to order first of all, and then for a roll call, please.
Peggy Wang,
Yes, Peggy Huang.
Serge Bonte,
That's fine. I'm here.
Isaac Stone,
Present.
James Kuzamal,
Present.
and Chair Terry Bart.
Present.
Chair, all present and accounted for.
Thank you. So first item of business is oral communication from the public. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the committee on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. State law prohibits the committee from acting on non-agenda items. And before we go there, I should read a statement. Recently, regional and local elected and appointed bodies have been subjected to disruptive racist verbal attacks by anonymous callers during virtual public comments. City of Mountain View is fully committed to racial, religious, and cultural equity and justice as we strive to create a welcoming, safe, and inclusive community for all. This advisory body welcomes respectful and non-threatening public comments regarding matters over which the advisory body has jurisdiction. Comments deemed otherwise pursuant to the Council Code of Conduct and the Government Code may be grounds for immediately terminating a speaker's comment period. Okay, so oral communications from the public on items not on the agenda. Do we have any callers on the Zoom line?
We currently have callers on the Zoom line and no one has their hand up. We have no public comment.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public in person wishing? Thank you. Seeing no comments coming from our communications from the public, I'd like to move to item 4, the consent calendar. Okay, this moves us to the item 4. We have 2 items on the consent calendar. Item number 4.1, meeting minutes from our April 2nd, 2025 meeting. With meeting minutes of the prior VPAC meeting. Are there any clarifying questions?
Yeah, I think there is a mistake in the minutes. And is it what we want now or is it later?
I would like to pull the minutes item from the consent calendar, but I assume we pull it and
Yes.
then talk about after doing the
Okay.
consent part of the consent.
Yes, especially if there can be an amendment.
Okay. Okay, so pulling the meeting minutes, item 4.1 from the consent calendar and moving on then to item 4.2 on the consent calendar, the VPAC fiscal year 2024-2025 work plan. Any clarifying questions or comments on the work plan? Okay, seeing none, even the consent calendar of the one item will be approved in one motion unless any member of the committee would like to remove an item. We've already had item 4.1 removed, so that's just item 4.2. Would any member like to make a motion, please? I don't believe we have public comment on items on, excuse me, we probably should actually on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to public comments. Comments from public attendees on the Zoom line.
We have no public comment.
Public comments from any members of the public in the room. Seeing none. Okay, can we move forward to clarifying questions and committee comments?
I'll move that we accept the remainder of the consent calendar, which is item 4.2, the BPAC fiscal year 20. I put both years in my thing, but the BPAC fiscal year 24 to 25 work plan.
Second that motion?
Okay, seeing a second, calling for a vote. All in favor?
Oh,
I'm-
yes.
I'm okay.
Okay, so that is a 5, okay. Motion passes 5, 4, no, against. Okay, I believe we're going back then to item 4.1, the meeting minutes of April 2nd. Starting with clarifying questions or comments. So, excuse me,
Clarifying questions.
clarifying questions, starting with clarifying questions.
So if I recommend an edit, is it a clarification
That's a
or a
comment.
comment? It's a comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you have a question about it first.
No, I know that has to be fixed.
Okay, moving on, any comments from members of the public on the Zoom line?
There are no public comments.
Any comments from members of the public in the room? Seeing none, okay, moving on to committee comments.
The one thing I noticed was on the motion to, in 4.1, to approve the prior meeting minutes, it listed myself as the chair and Chair Barton as committee member. So I would propose an amendment that we fix the titles there. Although I think the list of people who moved that item were correct.
So I had a similar things, but I think it's more throughout the minutes. So if you look at this minutes and as well as the previous ones, and I think most likely the ones from last year, anytime there's a tally, roll call or a vote or things like this, you are referenced as Chair Kuzma. And there is a reference to Vice Chair Stone, which I think was the order like 2 years ago. So it's no big deal, but it's, I don't know, we should prefix it once, moving forward. So
We can
I mean,
look
it's
to
like
make sure
everywhere.
all the titles are correct.
It's pretty a copy paste from, I don't know, some minutes from 2 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why I
It's
saw
like-
that one on the minutes approval, but nothing else, but yes.
But it's all throughout. I checked a few in March and it's everywhere. So anyway. So that way, Chair Barton would be recognized
So-
at least officially as chair.
Yeah. So do you want to motion to approve the minutes with the edits to appropriately change the titles?
Yes.
Prior to the
In
meeting.
that set of minutes, you don't have to. I mean,
You're good with
I'll
just
go
this
back.
time? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I move for the April 2nd, 2025 minutes. We approve with the amendment that title motions be corrected to reflect the
current organization.
the current chair and vice chair of BPAC.
Great.
Second for that motion?
I can, yeah. Not for it, so-
Okay, seeing a second, calling for a vote, all in favor?
Yeah.
And then Peggy, are you going to abstain
I'm
from
gonna
this?
abstain.
Yeah. Okay, so 4 in favor, 1
As the chair,
abstain.
it's Chair Barton.
Yes, thank you, Chair Barton.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a completed discussion of items 4.1 and 4.2. Moving on to item 5, unfinished business. I see no items marked for unfinished business, which brings us to item 6, new business. So item 6.1, active transportation collision report. And we have a report from the police department.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Lorena Holt and I'm a police lieutenant at the Mountain View Police Department. I currently am one of 3 lieutenants that oversee our field operations division, which field operations division is basically our officers that are out in the field. So that includes our traffic division, the guys on the motorcycle that you see around town, as well as our patrol officers that respond to calls for service and conduct traffic stops and community engagement. We also deal with the unhoused community and our RV community on our wider streets in the city. And as a lieutenant, I have been in field operations for about 8 months now. So being that I'm taking over the traffic unit, I am now assigned to BPAC. So here I am. It's my first meeting with you all. I met Brandon last week, and this is my first time meeting all of you. I look forward to getting to know you and being a part of your mission and helping to keep the bicyclists and pedestrians safe in our city. Just a little bit of background about me. I have been with the city of Mountain View for almost 4 years. However, I've been in law enforcement for almost 18 years. I was a lateral police officer that came from the Alameda County Sheriff's Office in the East Bay. And I was there for the majority of my career, and I came over about 4 years ago. Throughout my career, I've worked a variety of assignments with the Sheriff's Office. I worked in the jails. I work primarily on patrol and in our investigations division, investigating sexual assaults and homicides. I've never been a traffic officer, but I will tell you that the worst call that I've ever been to in my career, it's the most memorable, involved a vehicle and a 6-year-old boy. It was back in March of 2016 that I responded to a call for service of a 6-year-old boy that was walking to school on a rainy March morning. And he and his brother were struck by a vehicle. The vehicle proceeded to crash into a pole after running over the 2 brothers. The driver ran away and he was apprehended a few days later. In that incident, both of the boys were severely injured. However, the younger brother had to have one of his legs amputated. So I do have a special place in my heart for pedestrian bicycle safety, and I look forward to working with all of you and seeing how we can collaborate together, the police department and your committee, as well as cooperation from our community members to get our numbers down, maybe 0 someday, hopefully, right? That's the goal here. As far as actual business today, I reached out to Brandon. I had him reach out to you all for some inquiries that I could be prepared for today. I don't currently have any statistics for you because all of that stuff is accessible on our website, on our transparency dashboard. So I don't have that. But I do have some answers to some of the questions that were submitted to me this week. Oh, it works, Brandon. Your new remote works. So first question that you're saying, I think, James,
Yes.
you submitted some, most of these. Given the flock cameras, do we have any sense of what percentage of vehicles have improper plates, such as missing license plates, obstructed license plates, or unregistered plates for unregistered vehicles? So just a little bit about the flock system. This is a new system that is new to our city. We just started we were just recently approved for flock cameras. Flock is the name of the company, so the manufacturer of the camera. But what flock is it's an automated license plate recognition system. So we have currently have 21 flock cameras installed throughout the city, primarily in the major intersections and on our main thoroughfares of the city. And the purpose of ALPR is to capture images of license plates associated to stolen vehicles, wanted persons, missing persons, or terrorist activity. So, for example, if a vehicle is stolen in, let's say, San Jose, and the owner of the vehicle reports the vehicle to the police as being stolen, we enter, the police department that it's reported to, enters that license plate information into a stolen vehicle database. We call it SVS. And now that license plate is now in our nationwide database as being a stolen vehicle. So the beauty about Flock is if that stolen vehicle with that license plate that is reported as being stolen drives through one of our intersections and passes one of our Flock cameras, then that image is alerted to our officers. So now we know, okay, well, we have a stolen vehicle in our city because or passed through our city or passed through one of our intersections. And now we can be on the lookout for this vehicle that may be in our city, and maybe we can recover the stolen vehicle and possibly apprehend anybody occupying that stolen vehicle. That's a long story, but the short answer to your question, Brandon, is that the Flock system is not designed to alert us to missing license plates or obstructed license plates or unregistered vehicles. It's simply for apprehension purposes or location purposes of locating stolen vehicles, missing persons, or wanted persons. Any questions on that?
We will hold questions.
Oh, okay. Questions at the end. Sorry, I'm going off script. All right. Second question, does MVPD use information from school crossing guards to adjust traffic enforcement around school hours? Absolutely, 100%. I personally field phone calls from traffic guards, from school employees that communicate with traffic guards, from parents that are, you know, for example, yourself, you mentioned the intersection of Central Expressway and Castro, or Central Expressway Moffett. Yes, we take that information from Ask MB through community members coming into our station and bringing these concerns to us. They also call the police department to bring these concerns to us, and absolutely we use that information to direct our officers. We call it directed patrol, where I will give officers specific directions to monitor a specific area during a high crime area or high crime time of the day, or times that are reported to us as being a problem in our school zones. Question number 3, why were we fortunate to not have any DUI bicycle pedestrian collisions in the prior few months? That's an interesting question. There are numerous reasons why. And I think I am very happy to report that we haven't had any DUIs. Actually, we've had one, but DUIs involving bicyclists and pedestrians. And there are so many different factors that may lead us to those results. You know, for example, the weather, circumstances, time of day. Most of our DUI arrests or most of our DUI collisions, and again, I say most, it's not all the time, but mostly occur during the prime times of the day when the bars are open and people are drinking. So, or, you know, special event days like holidays, 4th of July, St. Patrick's Day is a big drinking holiday. Cinco de Mayo is a big drinking holiday, Super Bowl Sunday, you know, those types of events drive our DUI statistics up because more people drink during those times of the year, excuse me. And they happen in the middle of the night, right before bars are closing, usually, or right after bars are closing. And we just don't usually have bicyclists out during that time. Well, I would say most people that ride bicycles are, you know, they ride in the daytime, mostly. So I would say that that's a general answer to that question, but I can't say for sure. I'm just making it a hypothesis that we just don't usually have bicyclists and pedestrians out during the prime times that we have DUI collisions. Question, oh, next slide. All right, what is PD currently doing to advance street safety? So we do a lot. We pull cars over, and when we pull cars over, we have the discretion to issue them a citation or to provide them with a warning, and educate them on whatever violation it is. If somebody, maybe it was you, James, asked what were we doing about, quote, asshole drivers? Did you write that?
It's possible.
Somebody wrote that. Yeah. So valid question. I like it. But you know, unfortunately, being a quote asshole driver is not against the law always. And we only have the authority to enforce the penal code and the vehicle code, right? So that is those are the guidelines that we operate by. And that's what we use to keep the street safe. In addition to that, we use social media to our advantage. We have an amazing public information officer that also manages our social media accounts. And we use that to our advantage because most people, you know, a large number of our community is on social media, on Nextdoor, Facebook, Instagram, X. And so in May for National Bike Safety Month, we posted safety messages across all of our platforms. And in April, we also posted some driver awareness messages, and we do all those things in an effort to reach a wider audience. So we do use that to our advantage. I mentioned earlier to Isaac, was it Isaac? Did I tell you we were at Red Rock?
Yes.
That was you, yes. So we have different community engagement events such as Coffee with a Cop that we did this morning. And we use those opportunities to not just hang out with our community members, but to use those opportunities as times to hear your concerns and hopefully provide you with a response and make you feel better about what we're doing. I know you might not see us out there often, but we are out there. And our goal is to bring those numbers down, just as that is your goal as well. What is PD currently working and focusing on for Vision Zero? So Vision Zero is not a police initiative. That's as you know, it's the city's transportation planning team's project. But we, of course, are partnering and collaborating with you in your mission to bring or eliminate traffic fatalities and injuries on the roadway. Because of that, we are, you know, I refer back to the previous question of what we're doing. We're going out, we're enforcing and we're providing education to the community members through in-person engagement as well as using social media to our advantage. I'm sure you all want to know about what we're doing to enforce safety on El Camino. So big question. This has come up several times throughout the last few weeks, especially because Caltrans has been out, I would say in the last week and a half or so, installing the stanchions across most of the roadway. We have been going out and we have, to my knowledge, we have not towed any vehicles. Towing vehicles, you know, is definitely escalating a situation, and we prefer to provide education to our drivers. So we provide education, we go out, we will run a license plate, and if that license plate comes back to a nearby residence or somewhere along El Camino, we will do our due diligence to contact the registered owner of the vehicle to educate them on where to park and where not to park, so that our first response is not to issue citations. Our first response is to contact drivers, whether they be in the cars or in their homes, to provide education. Towing cars and issuing citations is tough on the community, and that's not our goal, to go out and give everybody a bunch of bills to pay, because we understand that times are tough for everybody. So our first step is outreach and education. And if that doesn't work, we have been issuing citations along the roadway. One discrepancy that I did notice myself after driving the entire stretch of El Camino from the Sunnyvale border all the way up to San Antonio was that there are some signs along the roadway that conflict with the bicycle signage. And there were a few 2-hour parking signs that were up along the sidewalk, erected on the sidewalk, but then there's a bike lane right there, and signage also signage posted on paper and posters saying not to park there due to the bike lane. So as a driver, I would be confused myself. Like, is this a 2-hour parking spot or is this a bike lane? I don't really understand. So that is something that we can look into to clarify that stuff for the drivers. And in those situations, I will tell you that I am hesitant to issue citations to those drivers, because it's not their fault that there's conflicting signage out there. But the stanchions are up, and what would you say, most of the roadway, Brandon?
Yes,
Most of the stretch of ECR? And I do think that that is gonna help significantly because it'll just, it will prevent anybody from parking along the sidewalk. So that's what we're doing right now. Like I said, we have not towed, but we have issued a good deal of citations and we are talking to folks. A few weeks ago, we had a pedestrian struck by a vehicle in the area of ECR and El Monte. And after that, I directed our traffic officers to go out on foot to just provide education to pedestrians in the area, because we've had a few now where it's very early morning time when it's still dark outside. They're wearing dark clothing. They're not using the crosswalk. And some of these unfortunate situations could have been prevented if there was more awareness on both sides, right? Both the driver side and the pedestrian. So we are going out and making personal contact with community members that we see are walking during those times of the day in an effort to get them to use the crosswalks. California recently, a few years ago, made jaywalking legal. So now folks are, walking across the road, running across the road, and that's just so dangerous to do on El Camino at that time of the day or at any time of the day. So we are doing what we can to provide education. And that was all the questions. This is my contact information. You can reach me through city email, and that is my desk phone number. My email goes to my phone, so it's almost like text messaging me. So if it's urgent, I will get back to you as soon as I can. But if not, I do work during the weekday. In addition to managing the traffic unit, I have my partner is Sergeant Chris Goff, he's been a long time traffic sergeant. So he's well aware of the concerns that you have brought to our attention, as well as some of the concerns that community members have messaged us about. Can we ask questions, Brandon?
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, and again, welcome.
Yeah,
Glad to
thank
have
you.
And trying to build a partnership.
Yeah.
So, starting off, clarifying questions.
Yes. Does the flock, is it a nationwide thing or is it a citywide?
So I wouldn't, I don't know, I can't speak for the nation, but I would say that the majority of Santa Clara County cities have flock. Yeah, and it's such a great tool for law enforcement to be able to have live alerts of dangerous cars and dangerous people that have either entered into our city or exited our city. So it's a valuable tool, and we're very, very grateful and appreciative that the city council and our community supported us in having these installed. It's a great resource for us. Thank you for
Thank you.
asking.
Additional
So
question?
on Vision Zero, I get that this is more like a transportation issue versus a MVPD program, but my understanding of the Vision Zero program is that whenever there is an accident and a fatality as we had in the airport, there is kind of a task force or some kind that kind of looks at the circumstance of that accidents to see if there are, I'm sure there could be some behavior issues,
Yes.
but it could be also, a bad setting for the crosswalks or for the lights and things like this. So there may be things that could be fixed at that
Mhm.
intersection. And I'm kind of wondering what's the process to do this, and when can we get some sort of assessment as to where there are some improvements at that intersection or that crossings that could have prevented or minimized the risk, I guess.
Yeah, I would say that we would take that on a case-by-case basis, and I'm happy to discuss a specific collision with you if you're concerned about a specific collision. So anytime there is a collision, whether it's a vehicle into a tree, a vehicle into another vehicle, a vehicle into a pedestrian, or into a bicyclist, or a bicyclist striking another object, or any type of collision involving a vehicle or a pedestrian, a collision investigation is conducted. And just like any other investigation, we look for evidence, we talk to people, we look for witnesses, we look for video surveillance to try to determine what the primary collision factor was. And so using all of that information, that is how we come to a conclusion of what possibly caused that. And sometimes we can guess or estimate what may have caused a collision, but we can't always know for sure. But we use all of those things, statements, witnesses, and evidence to come to that conclusion. But I would be happy, it's a very general question, but I would be happy to, if you have a specific collisions that you want to discuss, we can talk about that, and I can possibly make some recommendations for what our investigation could provide as some future safety measures. But ultimately, it's going to be the transportation department's responsibility for implementing those suggestions.
So I was thinking specifically about that fatality at crossing by, I think, Escuela
Yes.
and El Camino. And the reason for, there is some timing sensitivity, because I think part of a work plan is to look at that intersection
Yeah,
at the next meeting. So I think that would be very informative if we are,
yeah.
to that discussion, because, some changes would likely be done there.
Mhm.
And and you mentioned, the time of day, lack of visibility, maybe better lighting or as an example, I don't know the
Yeah.
specific, but it's, but these are the kind of thing that would be timely to have for, I guess, the next meeting, right?
Yeah, we can do that if maybe for the next meeting, if you want to provide me with a list of certain collisions that you're aware of, and I can give you some feedback. But I am absolutely happy to provide feedback. But also, I would just say that we're working with humans, right? And you mentioned earlier, Isaac, it's human factor. We can't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, I wish that jaywalking wasn't legal, because that would maybe force folks to use the crosswalk. But absolutely, lighting could be something that we could work with the transportation department on, additional pedestrian crosswalks with the light up pathways. I don't know what the official term of that is, but all of those will always help.
Maybe I can add something. I'm Pedestrian, and I led the Vision Zero Action Plan adoption. And I think what you were mentioning, Member Bonte, was Vision Zero Working Group. And this is an interdepartment working group where a member from many departments in the city come together and we discuss collision types. So previously, Officer Fernando staffed it, and we worked with him to learn some of the common themes, and that made it to the report, and that was identified as primary collision factors, and which led to safety improvements, identifying the safety improvements for those collision factors. So I'm looking forward to working with you going forward. I think we should have some of those, built up meeting, and we are planning to bring back our review of the Vision Zero policy part later this year. And that will include kind of the collision analysis, what we have seen since 2024, or collision analysis done a couple of years ago. So really since 2022, if any common theme has arrived, and how can that be addressed?
Thank you.
Additional clarifying questions?
If we might just respond to Sergio's request and your agreeability. We have another collision report coming in the future. And so we can slot that in to your presentation if that is what you would like to do. But we do not want to add another agenda item to the workload. So we would want to squeeze it in where.
I don't know, I can get a report through the cycle and everything to hit the next BPAC meeting
And I
to
think-
have a report ready for
I
you.
think even if it's work internally, if you have that working group.
If it's
it
work
seems to
internally,
have
that's
that
sufficient.
Some
Yeah, I
mishaps
think that
because
would be
of,
best.
staffing, but,
Okay.
and I'm sure that when it percolates too.
So I just want to clarify, the ask is not for a new agenda item
No,
at the
no,
next
no,
meeting.
not at
We're
all,
just going
but-
to, if
but
you would like information on it, we
It would
can,
be good to have a working group kind of
it sounds like we already
work
have one.
specifically on
Yeah,
this, and then if the information is available, that could
We can
inform
report it
the-
out.
the things as part of what you propose.
And if there ever is specifics you want in advance of this meeting when the officer is going to be present,
Sure.
please put that in the clarifying
Yeah,
question.
yeah, but I bet on that, so I didn't.
James gave her enough.
And I had one more question. So that was more around the data that I looked at there. There is a lot of bike theft in Mountain View, and I was pretty surprised that you had more bikes stolen than packages, which is not what you see on Nextdoor. And my question is, what can we do about this? I mean, because it's and the stats didn't say, where the bags were stolen, so it wasn't like a heat map or if it was stolen at people's home or just Park on Castro, as has happened to many of my
Everywhere.
son's friends. So,
I would say it's occurring all over the city and this is not a problem that is specific to Mountain View. It's probably a greater problem that's happening throughout Silicon Valley because our community members tend to have more expensive bikes. So what can we do is your question. That's a great question, but that's a loaded question. A lot of the bikes are unsecured. I would say, folks leave them just outside of their house, unsecured, in a public area. And criminals usually, they will take the easy route and they will go with the crime of opportunity and what
human
is.
behavior. Right?
Yes, human behavior again, right? They will go with the path of least resistance. So if bikes are unsecured, if they're just laying on the front lawn, if they are in the back of the bed of a pickup truck, unsecured, those are all just easy access for bikes to be stolen.
Add something to that. I have examples of how bikes are stolen by people who leave bikes parked in the same place over a few nights.
Mhm.
And then it's happened to me before, it happened to other people before. So those people who leave the bikes unattended for a few days, even with a lock. The people, the criminals, they can see it and then they just view it and then they cut it. So that's one.
Okay, can we go on for clarifying questions?
Can I add something?
Sure.
So something that's very helpful for us when we're taking a stolen bicycle report is to have the serial number of your bicycle. So in California, theft is classified one of two ways, as a petty theft or a grand theft, and that is determined by the cost of the stolen item. And like I mentioned earlier, if a vehicle is stolen, we enter the vehicle's license plate and the vehicle's VIN number into a stolen vehicle system. So in the same manner, when a bicycle is stolen, we take the serial number of that bicycle and we enter it into a stolen property database. So it happens very often where we will arrest somebody and they'll have a bicycle, they'll be on a bicycle, or we will stop a car and the person has a bunch of bicycles in the bed of the truck. And we go and we run the serial number and it'll come back stolen. So in those cases, we're able to return the stolen property back to their lawful owners. But if we don't have the serial number of
Always
your
take a picture
bicycle,
of it.
yeah, if
on
we
the
don't
phone.
have the serial number to your bicycle, then we are not able to enter it into the database. So it's in the best interest of the property owner to have photos of your bicycle, have the serial numbers, so that if we recover any property, we can get it back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions.
Member Stone.
Yeah, I guess this was kind of already discussed, the Safe Routes to School and local road safety plan. That was communicated to PD, I guess, and you're. So I guess that was more of a question for you than, or yes, they are aware of it. And
Yeah, so Safe Routes work very closely with the SROs, student resource officers. And Vision Zero Action Plan, we had Officer Fernando and Chris Goff guiding through that. So I think it's reconnecting, given the staffing has changed. So we can pick that up. But yeah, they're well aware of the two.
yeah, I just think the final report is very good and it does illustrate some of the more dangerous parts of the city for people on foot, and I would like to know that that data is available. And I guess kind of related to that, so to clarify my understanding, because a couple of years ago, vehicle struck a person on a bicycle right outside where I live. And PD came, but the person on the bicycle decided not to press charges. And so as far as I know, that the data point of that collision is not entered into any database, which means that we cannot use that information to make decisions about which streets are more dangerous or less dangerous. Now, is that understanding correct? If the police come but no police report is filed, then that collision is not recorded in any way.
So every collision is recorded if it
Mhm.
happened on public property.
Okay.
If it happened on private property, we might not have taken a report.
Mhm.
But if anybody is ever injured in a collision, regardless of if it's public or private property, a collision report is taken if there's any injury.
Okay.
Okay, and then this, so you kind of have two parts to your question. So the first one is a report. So if there is a collision, there should be a report.
Mhm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a criminal report.
It doesn't have to be a criminal report. I'm just, you
Yeah,
know, we're making decisions
Yeah.
about how to improve the streets of
Of
the city
course,
so
yeah.
they're safer. And so every little bit of data we have, okay, so maybe nobody was actually injured.
Mhm.
You know, this was a car turning right into a school actually, and a
Mhm.
person in the bike lane.
Yep,
I don't think anybody was injured, but, you know, if it had been a smaller child or a larger car vehicle, you know, the same movement could have injured somebody.
Right.
And so that would be a useful data point when we're making decisions. And I'm wanting to know if that's recorded.
I can't answer that without knowing the when it occurred. Do you remember when it occurred?
It was right about the time the school's starting, yes, and it was in, you know, it was in the street, so in public.
I'm sorry,
right-of-way.
when as in like the year or the time
Oh,
frame?
Can I
2 or 3 years ago.
clarify?
Yeah.
So the primary source of our collision data is the California State Thames database.
Yes.
That is based only on police reports. So
Right,
if it's not filed as a police report, it's effectively not recorded for our purposes. Now,
Okay.
there may be a general comment or an Ask Mountain View, but all those do not influence our decisions because they don't
Mhm.
come up on the data that the city uses to analyze intersections.
With the exception of reported near misses via Ask Him Fee, when then we use that in our planning purposes. And that's all.
Okay, that was basically what I understood. I just wanted to clarify that. Final question. So when this is going back to El Camino, when you run a plate and the person, you can see they have some sort of bike lane violation. Do you know if it's in the exact same location? No. Okay, so there's no way to know, like, okay, they maybe aren't aware of this one yet.
Hmm,
Okay. Okay.
That is a good question. I wish I could see that.
No questions right now. I can brief comments in a bit, but
Okay,
you have an agenda.
thank you. Moving on to public comments. Any public comments on the Zoom line for the presentation?
There are no hands up for online public comment.
Okay, public comments in the room? Okay, seeing none, going forward to committee comments. Any committee comments regarding the topic? James?
I'll try to keep things straight. First off, thank you so much for coming. It's great to have this dialogue, even if we do want to make sure we get the meeting moving as well. I think I did ask that question about the flock cameras. I think the direction I was going there was around if we were to end up sometime in the near future trying to implement red light cameras, then it would be nice to know in advance, oh, what incident rate do we expect of red light cameras failing to capture a vehicle because of problems with license plate detection. But that was basically the
Oh, okay.
sole plates I was coming from there, which so it's not so much a find the cars that need to have their license plates fixed, so much as a how many cars have problems with their license plates overall.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that is data that you can get from Flock, but that was my.
yeah, not from Flock. I'm
Okay.
not familiar with red light cameras.
Okay.
Or what their capabilities are, so
Yeah.
I can't answer that, but
Yeah.
not for Flock.
And generally just, I don't know, welcome to the city, and what I'm thinking about here is just sort of how to make productive use of the relationship, and like, there's a lot of times that from the BPAC perspective where it's, and from the member of the public perspective, where it's difficult to tell when we should and shouldn't push on PD in one way or another, whether that's just calling to report a person parked in the bike lane, like, is it that PD is already out constantly citing people in that bike lane, or is it that, and it's like calling that's going to just be another thing on the plate and I don't want to have to pick up the phone? Or is it that you had no idea? Or is it that this is just PD only has so many boots on the ground to deal with things and we need to be looking for other solutions? And so figuring out that sort of thing is bike lane obstruction is one example of that. And so just sort of trying to tease out, get a better understanding on our end of what's going on to.
Yeah.
Make it so things can be more productive. I think that'll just be an ongoing relationship. So I think this is a great start. Thank you.
Really quickly, so is this known to the public, having Flock or not? So they can work with it around it, to cover their license plate or
They
anything?
could, yeah, that's human nature.
Common practice.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like to make probably two comments. So the first related to unreported collisions. So again, I'm familiar with another student who was knocked down, perhaps in shock. I would assume they had injuries just because if you're knocked down from a bicycle, the fall is likely to produce them, even though if they don't at the time, because of shock, they don't feel them. Is it the policy of the police report to always take a collision report when there is especially a juvenile involved, even if they say they don't have injuries?
yes.
Okay, because that's not what I understood to a neighbor 2 years ago, but I'm glad it is now.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question, the next comment actually is your initial picture.
Of my slideshow?
Yes.
Oh, let's go back.
Say going back.
There's no going back.
Okay, so I guess
There you go.
there we go, okay. Question and comment, does the
Yeah.
field operations department include bicycles?
Yes, yes, and actually, I wish I had one. Have you seen, so every month we have a special sticker, a
Mhm.
special police sticker. And the sticker of this month is for our bike team. So we have a bike team, it's a collateral assignment, but they do have police bicycles.
Okay, so my comment is, I guess, on that, presenting a picture like this, which is kind of the face of the police department. It would be nice to see
Yeah. I
a
will.
bicycle for, if it's just
Yes.
equipment, and even better, since a lot of the police officers are on foot, and we're also the bike pedestrian
Yeah.
committee, having
A pair of boots.
bike and
I-
and smiling faces
Yeah.
representing not just the big equipment, so.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback. I will implement that in my slideshow next time.
Yeah, 'cause a lot of it's.
Our bike team is on our social media. I know that we've had a recent social media post with our bike team, so
I'm sure you didn't, probably didn't take the picture, but.
I did not take the picture.
To me, it's,
But
culture is, many aspects. one
Yeah.
is representation.
yes, thank you for that.
Thank
Take that
you.
into consideration.
Okay, moving on. Again, our appreciation
Yeah,
for
thank you for
coming
having
tonight,
me.
introducing yourself and the
Yeah.
partnership yet to come. Okay, our next item, item 6.2, we have an update on the safe routes to school.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Yeah, nice.
Give us me. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
See. Right.
Good afternoon, BPAC members. I'm Priyoti Ahmed, Transportation Planner with City of Mountain View, and today I'll be providing a Safe Routes to School update. Safe Routes to School program promotes walking and biking to school. To achieve this goal, there are 6 components. First, education, teaching students about bike and pedestrian safety. Second, encouragement, hosting events such as Bike to School Day or bike rodeos during Monster Bash. Third, enforcement, ensuring that student parents and the school community follow rules of the road. Fourth, evaluation, measuring the program's success in achieving its goals and objectives. Fifth, engineering, conducting walk and bike audits, followed by designing infrastructure improvements. And sixth, equity, ensuring the program is accessible and inclusive for Mountain View community. The program works best when all different parts are integrated and complement one another. Bit of a background on Safe Routes. Safe Routes to School in Mountain View began in 2010. The first phase of the program was funded by VERBS grant. During this period, program was led by Safe Moves, which is a Safe Routes to School consultant. They provided school education with minimal city staff involvement. Phase 2 started in 2019, supported by city and Measure B funds. However, due to COVID, schools were closed from 2020 to 2021. This closure, coupled with funding gap, created a 3-year gap in transportation safety education. During this period, there were 7 reported collisions, including 1 tragic fatality involving 13-year-old Graham Middle School student. In 2022, this program had to ramp up and deliver safety education to all schools. In this phase, the program was managed by city staff who worked very closely with the consultant team and provided many of the safety education along them. Currently, we are in phase 3. In 2023, city entered a 3-year contract with NN Engineering with Safe Moves as sub-consultant. The school year marked the second, this school year marked the 2nd year of the contract. And this year was the first year where all public schools in Mountain View actively participated in this program. The successful partnership with Mountain View Wisman District was established, bringing transportation safety education to all schools. So I wanted to give you a little bit of idea of our work program. So we have project management to make sure the program is on schedule and budget. We are developing a Safe Routes to School curriculum with Wisman School District, Mountain View Wisman School District, as well as our high schools, and we are hoping to pilot them next year. We provide school-based safety education. We held encouragement events and provide bike and safety activities. We do program evaluation through student survey where we kind of see how we are doing with our goals. This year we have done a follow-up to our walk audit task a couple of years ago, and at the end we'll have a final report. So diving a little deep, diving into safety education. This year, Safe Routes to School offered safety assemblies to all elementary and middle schools and bike rodeos to all elementary schools. All public schools participated in this program, so they all received the safety education. as part of their ongoing school day. And for the first time, we hosted a bike safety day in collaboration with Mountain View and Los Altos High School, where Bike Mobile provided bike repairs on site to students for free, and Safe Moves, which is our safety consultant, conducted a bike and safety education with them. Note that these services were available to all public and private schools in Mountain View, and the public school participated. Along with school-based education, the program also provides bike and pedestrian safety education at various citywide events to promote walking and biking to school and throughout the city. We collaborate with Community Service Department team to host these events. This year, we saw excellent participation in pedestrian and bicycle safety activities, with approximately 180 participants for bike rodeo during Monster Bash and 100 participants for Earth Day. We also partner with Teen View Center to do bike to boba ride. We support parents when they do bike buses. This middle picture is from Bob Elementary. And we also do tabling during back to school time to let parents know who we are, how to reach us, and why they should walk and bike to school. The other part of the program is engineering, infrastructure based. There are multiple ongoing capital projects. I just listed a few that will improve school commute. These include California Complete Streets Pilot Program. This project is in construction phase. Miramonte Avenue Bikeways Preliminary Design. This roadway has multiple projects going on. The section next to Grand Middle School will be going into construction, and the top section from El Camino to Castro is in planning and soon will be going into design. Rangstorf Complete Street Study. This is a planning study that will identify pedestrian and bike safety improvements along this corridor, and we'll be starting the data collection this fall. So we are just kicking off the study. Safe Rush to School walk audit follow-up. So in 2023, we did walk audits to all schools to identify pain points for parents and students. And from that, we have a task to follow up on which of them are very school specific, such as drop-off area schematics, to see if we can improve drop-off circulation with changes to where students are currently dropped off and picked up, and if there are some sort of a direction sense we can provide. So we are working with our consultant and the school district to identify them, as well as intersection level improvement. So throughout the walk audit, we heard about specific intersections such as Grant Road and Martins, Lane Avenue next to Grand Middle School, Montecito and Sierra Vista Avenue that are very school related. So we are looking into kind of collecting data and understand what improvements can make sense at those locations. Survey tally. So every year we do a student survey tally. This year we did it from April 1st to April 4th. Currently I'm reviewing that data. This picture is from last year. We have all school participating except all public school participating except Los Altos High School. But just wanted to remind everyone that we have 61% last year family car, which is parents driving kids to school, and 39% for all other modes. So that's the number we kind of going to follow and see how we do over the years. So as I said, we are just finishing the second year of our contract and we are heading into the last year. So it kind of gives us an opportunity to look at the program and kind of understand where we are and where we want to go. So in spirit of that, we looked up kind of what other people are doing, what other Safe Routes to School structures, cities or counties have, and what we kind of can learn from them. The first one is city and consultant led. This is Mountain View's structure where city hires a consultant and provides Safe Routes to School activities through that consultant. Not only we hire consultant, but we also work with PD to do our crossing guard. We also build relationship with the schools and parents. So staff is very involved in developing this program, but our education primarily happens through Safe Routes to School consultants. Many of our nearby cities follow this format, such as Sunnyvale, Cupertino, Santa Clara, and Los Altos. And all of these programs are funded by VTA Measure B funds. The second one is county and consultant led. This is where a county hires consultant and works with different schools or school districts to provide safe routes to school education. These are very school specific or school district specific program, and cities are not as involved. And some of the successful programs are Alameda County. They're really well known for it, San Mateo, as well as San Francisco. Then we have city, school district, and parent-led program. This is a unique program to Palo Alto. They have a three-party agreement with City of Palo Alto, their school district, and PTA, their parent lead group. And the partnership is meant to provide safe routes to school education in a holistic and comprehensive way. They have 3 full-time employees leading this program, so they are able to do the safety education along, and I think periodically they do hire consultants, and they are able to also develop a lot of the parent and school relationship. The last one is school or school district-led program. So this is when a school or a school district hires a consultant to provide safe routes to school. The examples are here: San Juan School District, Tracy Elementary School, and Durham Public School. These are school specific and school district-led. So those are the difference. Now looking to our own program and understanding our strength and areas of opportunities. The strength of the program includes hosting Safe Routes to School Coordinating Committee. This committee brings together parents, students, school staff, and city staff to discuss transportation improvements and provide updates on the program. And this committee have been a great venue for different parties to hear one another and for us to also hear from parents what they've been experiencing and kind of really incorporate them in our program. And it makes it a iterative process. As I mentioned earlier, we have made great progress in building strong relationship with Mountain View Wisman School District and Mountain View High School. We'll continue to work with Los Altos High School to expand their bike and pet safety education. This year we did it with them, so I'm hopeful we're going to continue that relationship. Also this year, we successfully strengthened relationship with parents and school community. For the first time, Mountain View Wisman School District organized a walk and roll day in April, and 6 schools from the district participated. And this is truly a milestone for our program because they never had done it. And this sets a kind of a culture of walking and biking to their school. Now to the opportunities. There are several opportunities for improving the program. One key area is increasing coordination with school resource officers, as we are talking earlier. This is kind of what I want to focus on next year as we prepare for the upcoming school year. Safe Routes to School team will reach out to SROs to align our efforts and activities during back to school time so we can start setting that behavior. And throughout the year, we want to circle back with them to see what behavior issues they are noticing, if there are any collisions coming up that we need to know about. So kind of really strengthening that relationship. This year, this upcoming year, we are also collaborating with Mountain View and Los Altos Green Team to help them organize walk and roll events. That's something they mentioned earlier, like late this year during Bike Safety Day, that the Green Street is interested. So I want to work with them to kind of get them started. And another significant opportunity is increasing hourly staff time to strengthen relationship with parents and school community. Additional support will allow us to better engage with PTAs, foster relationship, and encourage or incentivize them to host walk and roll activities. Finally, as the current contract concludes next school year, we'll explore new program structures to address these opportunity areas. So for the next steps, We will be completing the remaining task for this school year, which is finalizing our program evaluation and completing the final report. We will be kicking off next school year program starting in June with a couple of kickoffs with our internal team and with the district and high schools. And then we'll be preparing for not this upcoming school year, but the after school, but after that, what the program would look like in terms of structure and an upcoming Safe Routes to School contract. With that, I have two questions today. One is, does BPAC have any feedback on improving this upcoming school year's work program? And does BPAC identify any gaps in existing Safe Routes to School program that could be addressed through Safe Routes to School program structure model for 2026 and 2027? And that's all I have.
Okay, good. Thank you. Moving first to clarifying questions on the presentation. Any clarifying questions that need to be asked by committee? Serge?
Yeah, so regarding the training, is there like training that's more specific to e-bikes? And I'm not talking about elementary school, but in
High
middle school or
school.
things like this. And I used to ride a moped when I was in high school,
Yeah.
back in the days, and that scares.
Getting close to
The thought of
mopeds.
me doing that, scares me in retrospect, so.
So we are going to be bringing in high school to talk about how to provide that training to high schools. High schools have a really big population. There are about 2,000 kids. So if we can identify who has an e-bike or who's actively riding one, we can target it that way, or we can provide a bicycle academy sort of a structure. Schools have told us it's difficult to provide it to all students because the volume is just so high. So this is something, when we visited, there were about 1/3 to probably more students having an e-bike. So that's something we have flagged, and I want to work with the principals to see what is the right fit to provide that training. But both of our consultants are very well equipped to provide that training.
It's on our radar, is the
Yeah.
short.
I'm sure it is, because you see them zoom by. And my second question, is there training or was there any thought on doing training for parents? Because, I mean, it never was the case for me, but there are definitely people who never biked, our parents, and I think that for them to allow their kids to bike to school, it's easier if you're comfortable yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
that's a good suggestion. Is this parents who doesn't know how to bike or just getting them used to the road biking, like biking on a
Some
road?
of them may not be able to bike at all,
Yeah.
but some of them may not be confident enough to
Yeah.
to cross El Camino or whatever
That's
streets is
a high
there.
bar.
And if they're not confident, I don't think they want their kids to do that, right? So.
Yeah, so previously we have discussed doing bike buses, which is a great way to get, folks that are on the cusp, get them more used to biking with folks. And this year district wanted to lead it. We actually offered to lead it, but they wanted to say, no, we want our PTs to be involved in leading them. So my hope with them is we bring them more often. We do them more often. So we'll do one in fall and winter and spring and kind of get them used to having a couple of them over the years so parents can get to ride it, get that chance. We did look into an adult biking training session. And what I heard from parents when I was pitching it, part of the coordinating committee, that it's hard. Parents might not do it if there are other people around and other kids around. So that's kind of, we need to figure out what might be the right venue. We wanted to do it as part of Earth Day. So then we ended up taking the adult part out and did the learn to bike for kids. So we can think a little bit more about that, of what the right venue be for parents.
Any other clarifying questions?
I'm sorry, I have so many questions here, but how are you guys reaching out to the school about knowing that the project exists? So the transparency issue about, so maybe like a newsletter, or so that, the parents can actually know that it exists or that to participate in these programs?
Yeah, so schools receive an orientation packet. Oh, this goes through district. So I give district an orientation packet that has contact information, rules of the road, how to drop off safely, and then our safe routes to school maps. So we have these maps to show which are the safer routes in the city. So they receive these packet with all our information, and then they send it out to schools, and the school sends it out to parents. So that's one avenue. And I also throughout the year contact different PTAs to say that, hey, are you interested? Did you hear about this program? We have this coordinating meeting, send a rep or send an interested parent. So I also kind of do a little bit more individualistic outreach with the PTAs. And during big events like Monster Bash and Earth Day, I do emails to all these schools to say, bring your students and kids to these events. They're free. It's a great benefit that we have. So those are the primarily two way. For reaching a wider parents, I found going to a district is the most efficient way to do it because they will send it out and then the principal will send it out. So.
Thank you.
Um,
Kuzma?
yeah, first off, I guess, so I'll help answer the second question there. What is our current intention about sort of the long-term plan for the Safe Routes to School program? Is the intention, broadly speaking, to continue it indefinitely? I mean, obviously, a future city council could do whatever they wanted, but.
We had this conversation earlier this week.
Okay.
Right now, we're focused on getting through this year, but we are working to get an adopted plan and policy and program through council because it actually has never been adopted by council. It is just listed as a priority, so I would like to get that memorialized.
Okay.
So that's our more immediate to do. We are also in the process of figuring out how to report out Vision Zero and Safe Routes to School annually to both BPAC and council. So where we're gonna do that, how that's gonna work. And eventually how we tie that into the ATP. So my big goal that I'm still trying to bring everybody along here with me is that the ATP will incorporate all the projects that have been identified in Safe Routes to School and Vision Zero. Those should all be scored and ranked as part of the ATP. So those projects, right, we have one place to look for projects and one place to develop CIP projects from. Policy is a little different in each of those. So ATP will have policies that are a little different than Vision Zero has policies that has different policies than Safe Routes to School. The goal, though, would be to kind of bring those all together, maybe as different sections, but and report out on those policies at all together annually. Safe Routes to School is unique in that it is a program, right? As Priori just went through, it has education, it has enforcement, it has evaluation. I always get that one. I always miss that one. So still trying to figure out where that's going to land, but the first process is to make sure we get something adopted by council, that it is a priority and a program so that we continue to fund it.
Yeah, I guess second question, since I think the county does not have any, does Santa Clara County have any Safe Routes to School program, I guess is the question, since other counties were mentioned there.
Countywide?
Counties,
The county or the VTA, I guess, since they're both county level.
yeah, I need to check, but I know Santa Clara County does run kind of, they are in the know of what we're doing, what each cities are doing. So they are involved and we do report out to VTA once a year on our, what we have done, what is the goal of the program. And we have a funding agreement with them. So I need to check if they haven't adopted, but it is part of the funding agreement with them that to have the program and then to provide these services.
Is that measure, that's a Measure B
Measure B,
funding?
yeah.
And that's the 2016 Measure B?
Yes.
No,
2016 measurement, that's right.
there are multiple Measure Bs, right?
Education
Yeah.
and encouragement.
Yeah, and is that agreement we have with VTA something that we renew every year? Or is that a longer term thing, or is it?
Yeah, so we just renewed it and it's till 2046,
Yeah,
so.
thank you. And, oh, for the pickup and drop off improvements you were talking about, is that stuff that does involve cooperation with the schools, or is that largely, okay?
Yeah, it's definitely on their property. I mean,
Okay.
it's in their whole drop off and pickup area back of the school, so very much with the school.
So, okay, and so then I guess then the question from that is, does it also involve potentially things that are on, I guess it's all public land, on the public right of way? Or is it just about improvements to what the school is doing on the district's property?
There will be some things on the private property because it leads up to, going into the school. So if there's a crosswalk needed, if there's a side distance improvement needed, if lanes are merging weirdly where bikers are not sure where to go, so those things have to be ironed out. So it's not, as clear. It's gonna have those merging
Okay.
areas.
Thank you, those are my questions.
Yeah, I might count, some cities even go take control and shut down roads to schools to force drop off farther away and are walking. So and there's a range of who could do it. Okay.
Okay.
Clarifying question?
I had a question, yeah. So, yeah, you've got good cooperation with Los Altos and Wisman. Mountain View, Los Altos High. Are you cooperating with the Los Altos district for the Los Altos schools?
So I am in contact with Los Altos City, who does kind of a version of us, and I think they are they have a more opt-in situation with the schools where schools ask for a service and then
We have a couple of the elementary schools
Yeah.
that are.
our students go in a couple of the elementary schools, so they are covered through Los Altos program.
That's not part of this program, or that wouldn't
Yeah.
be part of this,
Oh,
okay, like
Yeah.
Springer. and-
Springer's in our city limits.
Yeah, but
There's
that's,
a lot of our students, but it's governed by Los Altos School
Right.
District.
That's the only one
Yeah.
we have, yeah.
yeah. And you're in communication with the private schools, but so far, nobody's jumped at this opportunity. Okay, okay.
We'll try this year, we'll make a bigger efforts.
So I had one more clarification, very specific. Is there a crossing guard at the crossing on Reinsdorf by Junction?
So there used to be, and the crossing guard and Montaloma both told us nobody uses that intersection. And then that's no surprise.
Because it's on next agenda.
So that's why I believe we moved the crossing guard to Mountain View High School on Brower and Truman, like that T intersection, because there were a couple of, we were getting complaints from near misses from the principals and the school students.
Thank you. So it's just since you were here.
Moving on to public comments. Any public comments from the Zoom line?
No, we have no public comment.
No members of the public in the room. I think we have no public comments there. So moving to committee comments. Committee comments?
I have a couple comments. I guess first off, I think it would, well, before making too many decisions, the structure of the program, I think it'd be good to see council set this into stone. I think my natural inclination is that it is not being inclined to want to use consultants for something we're going to have every year anyways. My gut instinct tends to be that the dedicated city staff are going to be a more efficient use of our resources, but I can't claim to know all the subtleties there, and there's some amount of if we don't actually know the long-term state of the program, then and it doesn't mean you never use consultants. But also it seems like we are currently doing a pretty good job overall. Sometimes it's hard to tell if these things that correspond to a lot of education. It can be hard to see the direct effects. I do quite like the focusing on or spending time on the pickup drop off patterns that makes perfect sense for this program to be worrying about, and seems, having seen what the chaos, both as a student and now when I have to go by the schools at the wrong time of day, what that can look like, it seems like a very worthy thing to be spending time on. And yeah, on the e-bike topic, I have no idea how much we need to worry about that, but it is, especially since I'm sure some students end up with things that are not legally e-bikes. I don't know how much, I don't know the correct way to approach that. It probably doesn't involve being anything overly punitive or the such, but definitely something that needs, but that, well, should probably have attention. And it sounds like that it will.
Thank you. Other committee comments?
Sure, I'll jump in. So I think it's a great program, and I think, I hope it continues and is cast in stone for for eternity, I guess. I don't know. But I sound like a broken record, but I live in the part of Mountain View that is not part of the Mountain View Wisdom District. So my son, went to schools in Los Altos, even though we live in Mountain View. And he's never been on any, safe route to school map in either Los Altos or Mountain View. So there is kind of a gap, and it's a complicated thing because you have to deal with multiple jurisdictions. But to me, a big improvement would be to have more collaboration with the city of Los Altos and the Los Altos School District. Because we are constituents of pretty much all of them, and it feels sometimes that's a bit of a hot potato things. Like you deal with them, you deal with them, and it's quite a few students there. There are about 1,000 Mountain View kids going to Los Altos School District schools. So and the things is set such so that even kids from Los Altos would go to a school in Los Altos have to use Mountain View streets because you have to cross Springer or a bike along Springer or El Monte or Miramonte or even Grant. So it's really a complex thing, but the more, especially if it's becoming like a real program, I think it's important that it covers all the residents of Mountain View. And I think there was some talk about dealing with private schools. I think private schools tend to be more like commuter schools. So the amount of walking or biking, is by nature kind of limited because nobody's going to walk or bike from San Jose or San Francisco. Yeah, but it's not a biking or walking. So I think, in comparison, I think it's much more important to deal with the public schools that are in Los Altos that Mountain View addresses. So that's my sense. And I don't have a magic wand. I can't get Los Altos and Mountain View to merge either in district or in cities. It's never gonna happen. But and I wish we would be more like Palo Alto, where it's one city, one district. Although there is a piece of Palo Alto that actually goes to the Los Altos School District. That's the Monroe neighborhood, but that's.
I'm in Palo Alto now.
Thank you. Any further committee comments? Yeah.
Very quick. Private schools, right? One good way to get to them is to approach them through teaching them how to bike. Once you get through that door, to convince the parents that you should try and go there to teach them how to bike, then they'll flock them.
Thank you. So I'll close with my comments then. Yeah, I guess the question or comment to both is, are we moving toward a model like Palo Alto? I know it's kind of a chicken and the egg with culture in that biking and walking to school is a political issue that gets council members elected in Palo Alto. Palo Alto is very proud of their schools. There's evidence that people who bike and walk and get their blood flowing make better students. I pass by the mural on the back of the Palo Alto High School on the bike path every day. It says we're the best school in the state. for the best district in the state. So parents move there just for the schools and the fact that they can bike to school. So it's lots of things, you know, whether it's education, whether it's the school, whether it's the community, whether it's the politics, whether it's the transportation department, kind of all feed off each other. And there's, you know, a higher percentage of people biking and walking to schools, more benefits as a result, and it becomes more desirable. So it just kind of feeds on itself. Any thoughts about what it would take us to get to kind of that a higher level?
I think the hardest part is kind of what Serge was talking to, is we've got multiple districts just in our jurisdiction. So that's hard to get everybody on board. And then to talk to what James said earlier, Palo Alto has 3 full-time employees just for Safe Routes to School. We have 4 full-time employees for our entire transportation planning. So just,
Culture is different.
yeah, so I would say our big hurdles, and I don't know, while it is a great program, I don't know how to implement it here with multiple districts. I think our biggest benefit would be to try and figure out how to combine the districts and the schools first and make sure that we're all working off the same program. I think we can talk about some ways to try and entice that. But getting and I don't have the PowerPoint right in front of us, but the slide I think has slides. Yeah, the other thing is they are very heavily parent-led,
Yeah.
and we don't have the same parent commitment.
I mean, it's also advocates and parents go back and forth from.
Yeah,
school.
so there's a lot of things that I think we can do to help maybe push us more a little bit that way, but we've got some hurdles. Yeah.
I would add though, that Palo Alto's program is 15 plus years old. And ours program is, you know, also not new, but we kind of went through different phases of it, different structures of it, and we're kind of landing more permanent. You know, with maybe a council adoption next year. But one other thing, Palo Alto, so in terms of school district, what they have able to accomplish is in-school education. So they get in-school education in Palo Alto. We are very close. We are providing safety education in school. All grades get it. We haven't formalized it, but it has happened. And I have received great feedback from district that they are planning to continue it. So in terms of district participation, our biggest district, which is the Mountain View Wisman district, that we can get there in terms of school education. As Allison mentioned, the biggest gap is parent commitment. And that's we've been working, you know, and that's what will take staff involvement to build that
I
relationship.
understand.
So, yeah.
I'm making a half full comment. We've come a long way.
We've come a long way, and you know, give us time, because
Yeah.
these things takes time to build and
No
will
question about it.
change.
Like I said, I think there are several parents on the Safe Routes to School committee that
Yeah.
are campaign managers for city council members, so it kind of feeds on itself.
That's right.
So one more comment related to parent training. I believe there is community-based training from the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition. I think REI may still do adult training. And I think even the Sunnyvale Library cooperates with SVVC for some events for parent training. So, you know, the library as well is kind of a different vehicle there, but there are avenues for parent training. And what is the Green Team Los Altos, I believe, also does some active transportation with adults. So there's opportunities there, and, you know, just being a high school public school teacher, I can tell you the kids that are more alert are, you know, the ones that are biking. Again, it's a positive reinforcement cycle. They do better in school, they feel more independent, they bike more, they do better in school, you know, kind of keeps going in a cycle. So excellent work. Like I say, we've come a long way, and I think, you know, Palo Alto's out there to some extent, obviously different, but also giving us some, you know, visibility of what could be.
Yeah. Actually, wanted to interrogate again on the, so I can better understand the state of what we currently have first of all, I guess, what is the what is the magnitude of our contract with whatever consultants we do have? Like, just how much money are we spending a year on?
This
Um,
went to council.
yeah, we are spending about 230K
A year?
a year.
And we have,
And
are,
all the
in terms
time.
of city employees, are you full-time on this, half-time on this, quarter time on this?
I think at peak, I'm half-time,
Yeah.
and at off-peak summer, I am about quarter.
Okay,
But you're not our only employee working on Safe Routes to School, so
Yeah,
we're probably
Oh,
between
yeah.
half. We're about a half.
Yeah.
about a
FTE.
half over the course of the year, and some parts of the year it peaks out, and some parts of the year you're worrying more about other things.
Yes.
Okay,
And how many FTEs with 200K?
less than one. A bit less than one, but.
It would require more money, so.
Yeah, I mean,
By the way.
that is public information. I don't have it off the top
Sure,
of
sure,
my
but I
head,
mean,
but
roughly.
you have, I mean, it's a fully loaded, right? It includes all benefits and everything else, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a question of basically that's for a question about what, I don't know, how, when we're using a consultant, how, I guess, bursty does that work tend to be? Is it a lot of like, over the course of the year, they're always doing stuff, or is it like, oh, they are doing a whole lot over the course of 1 month, or?
Are you asking about the consultants?
Yeah, to
How
just
are they-
understand, yeah,
So-
what they're spending their time on.
Spending their time on, yeah, so we have two consultants. One is an engineering, they kind of see the overall kind of arc of the program, and then we
Yeah.
have Safe Moves, who does the education, and Safe
Okay.
Moves will see school twice a year. So they do fall, which is the assemblies, all the school get it. I try to get that done by end of October.
Yeah.
District likes it that way, before Thanksgiving, we're out. And then we go back starting February. So February, March, April, we do the bike rodeos because the weather is better, usually not raining. So they do those twice a year. They go to all the schools and provide those services. And in engineering, they provide support such as the curriculum development. That's what they're leading, and they provide support with the districts, and that's throughout the year. That's deliverable after deliverable, they're kind of moving that forward. Evaluation, they also lead. So once it closes in April, they do an analysis and does the final report.
So I think to answer your question, where I think you're headed, we would need more than just one more FTE to do what they are doing.
That's what I'm trying to understand in the end.
And I don't think that one FTE would get us through, I mean, your Safe Moves. I mean, they're like paid actors that come in.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that as much as.
I
my
don't have that
engineering
skill sets.
Degree is great. I did not go to acting school. I'm not sure that
Yeah,
I will
my-
have the same,
Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
My impression, there's like, the safe move stuff where it's like well scoped. We
Yeah.
need you for a specific thing where it's a skill set that you just aren't gonna have in the city. That makes perfect sense. The engineering one, I do not have the insight to provide useful comments on. That is one that sounds like I could imagine a world where that is true, but also I don't know. Curriculum development isn't a trivial task, and it's not the same as what the city normally works on. But it's also, it's a more continual base load. I just don't know. So. but,
I think we're
yeah.
still in the ramp up phase of this program where
Yeah.
it hasn't like landed. So, I think Nelson and I got kind of, an engineer kind of helping us know the
Yeah.
best practices and like how to go in the right direction.
Yes, hopefully we don't have to redo curriculum every year.
No, that's not, no, absolutely not.
No, thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, no further comments on this item? Okay, no motion required. We had committee comments, so I think we're ready to close item 6.2 and move on to item 6.3. The Transportation Development Act, Article 3, funding. And we have a presentation.
Vice Chair, please grab the screen.
You.
Thank you, Chair. Brandon White, Transportation Planner, and I'm here to talk with you all today about the Transportation Development Act, Article 3 funding. It's often useful to start with the beginning in mind, so our recommendation today is to fund the Grant Sleeper Intersection Project 21-39. So these have improvements across the city. Design is nearly complete and addresses many safety concerns. There are 3 other alternatives to the Transportation Development Article 3 TDA 3 funding, conversion of buffered to protected bikeways, interim pedestrian mall improvements, Castro intersections, project 23-49, and banking funds. So I do want to spend a moment to talk with you about how that this is a different recommendation than what was in your memo. The processing of the memo can take a while, and during that process, for great news, we actually received funding for our original recommendation of SB 01, which I will, SB 01 had some pavement improvements across the city. So that has been fully funded. So we are changing that recommendation to ensure that this funding is used efficiently, as impacted by inflation, and helps a project get done faster. Oops. So a little bit about the Transportation Development Act through TDA 3 funding. It's an annual state grant administered by the VTA. It's dedicated to pedestrian and bicycle funding, generated by sales tax. So that amount of revenue varies quite a bit each year, which we'll talk about. And this funding can be banked for up to 5 years, meaning we can set it aside with 4 other years of funding and an additional primary year and use 5 years at once if that is decided. Once the funding is allocated to a project, though, the project must start within 1 year. It is use it or lose it funding. So as I'm sure many of you know, the city has been influenced by many inflationary pressures and other aspects that have slowed project development. Staffing levels, however, have improved and been ramped up across all the many different divisions. The backlogs of projects are being worked on, and you are seeing many of these projects actually start work, which we'll talk later in this meeting, but we're actually getting those projects started. However, inflation is still high and impacting not just these projects we're talking about, but literally all of our projects. And that can be that can cause delays in projects by itself. And city revenues are also lower, as I'm sure you've heard through other reports across the city. So what we as staff need to do is focus on our existing projects before new to ensure that we can get those projects done as soon as possible. And so here are recent TDA 3 funding. And so in the previous years, we allocated funding to the Miramonte Avenue Improvements Project, which will start work soon. And the amount of funding that we received for 25 to 26 from the VTA, so sales tax generated, is $104,530. So here are one of the possible projects. This is the interim pedestrian mall improvements, Castro intersection. So these are 3 intersections, Dana and Castro, Villa and Castro, and pictured here, California Street and Castro. The first 2 are signal and pedestrian improvements, and the last is also a roundabout, the last intersection in California. Design is underway for this project. The recommended option is grant sleeper intersections or 21-39. These are a collection of locations across the city of rapid rectangular flashing beacons or RRFBs, pedestrian hybrid beacons pictured on the top right. And design for this project is underway. Do have more good news. On May 13th, City Council funded phase 2, which is the Ranksdorf Junction intersection, which I have pictured here, Middlefield at Terabella, and also Cuesta at Bonita. So that has been funded.
Sorry, I just want to correct, it has not been funded, but it will be recommended to be funded with this budget. The project has been listed as a budgeted project but council doesn't adopt the budget until June.
Okay.
Yeah. Just saying that.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. Phase 3, which is Middlefield and San Pierre, Cuesta at Beacon and Dana at Pioneer. That phase is currently underfunded. And these are all under the same CIP number of 2139. This means that any funding unspent in phase 2 can be used in phase 3. And another alternative is the conversion of buffer to protected bikeways. This would take, pictured here is La Avenida, class 2 buffered bikeways, install flex posts. This is across the city, not just at La Avenida, but at Macon, Maud, Phyllis, and Wisman, and produce approximately 1 mile of class 4 protected bikeways. And the recommendation today, as we spoke about before, is the grant sleeper intersection. So putting money towards this project will allow, which we anticipate phase 2 to be fully funded, but will allow us to keep moving with phase 3. Not create any delays in that project, provide flexibility, meet the requirements of the grant, because we have design and many things underway, and we expect completion within the timeline of the grant. Design is nearly complete. It's all across the city for improvements, as we talked about, addresses significant safety concerns that we've had documented through the years. However, we do have 3 other options: the conversion of the buffered to protected bikeways, interim pedestrian mall improvement projects at the Castro intersections, and banking funds. And then lastly, the next steps, if we were to bank funds, BPAC would review, prioritize, and recommend projects in the next cycle of TDA 3. And if allocating funds, we would bring this forward to the city council to seek their approval to allocate the TDA 3 funds to our recommended project. Please be mindful, if we bank funds, we have said funds undergo the pressures of inflation for a whole nother year. So I'll leave it here with our recommendation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members of the committee with clarifying questions. Is that a hand, James?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sure. So for the recommended alternative, could you put that alternative back on the screen? I just wanted to be able to see the intersections. So if we did not fund this one, then that would be that the phase 2 intersections should, unless council decides to do something weird with the budget, go forwards as anticipated. And then this would be effective for purposes of the TDA 3 money, it would be going to phase 2. The effect we would be having would be making phase 3 go more smoothly.
Yes.
Correct. It would release the general funds that had previously been allocated for phase 2 be available for phase 3, since it is all one CIP project.
It would put our TDA 3 funds in the phase 2, which we can go very quickly on and not have them affected by inflation.
Yeah, I'm just trying to separate what are we technically doing with the TDA 3 versus what is the effect of what our recommendation is. And so what is the anticipated timeline of phase 3?
Phase 3 is slated for design at the end of this year and construction. Go ahead.
Design is underway and construction.
Sorry, design is what?
Design is underway right now. Yes.
Yes.
No problem. And construction is anticipated in the spring of 2026.
Okay, and what is the, I don't know how much you can break it down, but what is the overall funding involved in this whole project? I'm trying to get a sense of like how big a drop in the bucket is the $100-something thousand compared to the scope of the project.
So I happen to have an adjacent conversation with the project manager on this project. And the inflationary pressures on pedestrian hybrid beacons and rapid rectangular flashing beacons, or RFBs and PHBs, are I've never heard of anything like this at 18%
Steel.
increasing. The steel prices are going through the roof.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of uncertainty, and to answer your question. But what she told me was that these installations are now starting to rival the cost of signal intersections, which are $1 million projects. So this is part of that process to evaluate the cost. But it would be something along those lines. Let me see if Joy, are you available?
Yeah, and I just
to
wanna
help
make a
answer that question.
quick correction. So phase 2 would go into construction in spring 2026. Phase 3 goes into construction fall of 2026. Joy should be.
Joy, are you able to? There she is.
What was the question? I thought you covered it, Brendan, but
Oh, fantastic, Joy. Thank you.
if you want me to add anything to it,
If you have anything to add, we're just trying to gauge effectively what percentage of the phase 3 project would this TDA 3 funding be? Did I paraphrase that correctly?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at, yeah.
I think a very small amount. I hate to say it.
with planned amount of 100,000, it would be a small fraction of it. But it would really help towards reducing the funding shortfall for phase 3. It's currently in design, and so once the cost estimate gets refined, then we can then use the remaining funds in the same CIP to then request additional appropriation from council, which would be reduced with the recommended allocation of TDA funds.
And I just want to stress, we would put the TDA 3 funds with phase 2. So that way we do not run afoul of any of the requirements.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, again, this is all one CIP, so the TDA 3 recommendation would be to allocate it to this CIP number 2139, and we
Yeah.
would spend it in the appropriate year on the appropriate
Yes.
qualifying expenses for TDA 3, and then whatever general funds will be allocated for that in this budget adoption, hopefully in a couple of weeks. That would stay in the CIP as general funds, but it would be able to be allocated to the next phase of the project.
That's very helpful. And then, so then on the project that's after this in the slide deck, the putting in flex posts or whatever, I don't remember if it has a name. I think it has a specific name.
Why is this not?
I guess first off, to be clear, on this one, the funding would cover the entirety of the project.
Oh, there it goes.
Or is it a partial amount?
It would approximate the entirety of the project.
Okay, and on staffing, this, I assume, this would be a new thing staff would be doing in its year or so?
Correct. It is not currently on our docket.
This would be a new project.
Do you anticipate that being a problem for staff capacity?
Yes,
Yes.
it
We-
doesn't mean we wouldn't make it work, but
In years past, the BPAC has asked for us to come with options.
Yes.
We came with options, but this is why I mentioned new projects create a backlog, and we want to try to focus on our existing projects.
And a quick follow-up on this, would this project require a CIP?
it would, and it would have to be adopted by council, so it
Which
also
is
makes
too late
it makes it a
for-
little harder. I mean, it would all go with this process, with this walls, whatever the recommendation is, so it would change our recommendation to council. Our recommendation to council from BPAC would be to create a project and to allocate the funds to it.
And they would have to allocate.
But what, if
No.
this does not cover the full thing, if by chance something happens, then we have to go back to council and ask for more money from general fund. So it puts that at risk of, if we do not get those funds, they'll lose it.
But to add it as a CIP would have to be done by June when the
Yeah, mhm.
city.
It would be part of this recommendation. It would be part of this recommendation that is
Has to go in
already, which has to go in June to get the funds. Yeah.
Any further clarifying questions, Member Stone?
Yeah, on this project. I guess La Avenida and Macon are in North Bay Shore, which is relatively flush with cash, to my understanding.
They are overflowing with cash.
I guess. You know, kind of. Why can't we use North Bay Shore money for those ones, or?
You're asking about the shoreline community.
Because it's currently not a project.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, but I guess if there's a shortfall,
Potentially.
theoretically, we could get the money from.
Theoretically, I could go back to council. I could ask for the money and assume we can get this all done within a year of getting
Okay,
the funding.
thanks. And on the recommended project, phase 3, Dana Street and Pioneer, I recall there being a project plan for Dana and Pioneer for bike infrastructure. No. Nothing coming up.
Nothing
Okay.
I'm aware.
Okay. Wishful thinking.
ATP certainly has
No, it
any
was
requests
Wisman.
for
Dana and
improvements.
Wisman. No. No, okay. No, all right. Those are my questions.
So I had one more question on the, I guess, Reinsdorf and Junction, crosswalk. So apparently, there used to be a cross guard and there is not a cross guard because nobody walked there, I guess. And I'm wondering what's the reason? Is it like a change in the boundaries for the school or? Because it was identified as something important, right? So.
Yeah, I don't have that answer. It's something we could follow up on and let you know.
I'll also note that there were both, I can recall at least one public comment from a student who used or tried to use the crosswalk a few years back, who was frustrated by it because of the nature of it. And it's very, that particular crossing is one which I would strongly suspect is a one of those places where, well, you don't choose sort of to build a bridge by the number of people swimming across the river type of thing.
Yeah, sure.
That's a really bad crossing. And so I would not be surprised if they say like, oh, this seems like something that should be a good opportunity to put a crossing guard and see what happens, but maybe even that wasn't enough to help. To be quite honest, I'm not entirely, I assume some improvements are not just at the pedestrian hybrid beacon necessarily, but I'll be curious to see how much that even helps with that intersection.
The majority of our requests for improvements in this location either don't state their purpose or they do state their purpose, and their purpose is grocery shop.
That's approximately why I've used that intersection in the past.
Any further clarifying questions? Okay, moving to public comments. Any comments on Zoom line?
We have no public comment.
Okay, seeing no members of the public in the room, I assume we have no public comments here, so going to committee comments. So just to clarify, you'll be asking for a motion on this one?
Correct.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, committee comments.
I think I want to. I guess my comment will be, I'm. The fact that the $100,000 would be such a small portion of the recommended suggestion, it bothers me a bit. Just because it's like it's hard for me to judge how much of an improvement that $100,000 is. However, I greatly appreciate staff coming with alternatives, and I don't want to make staff regret that by pushing for ruining staff capacity over the next year through one of the other options. Although there is the sort of quick build alternative does appeal to me in the terms of it would have quick improvements. It would be funding the entirety of that project rather than probably maybe more than 10% of one intersection, but of the other project. So I will move to approve the staff recommendation of putting this funding towards phase 2 of the Grant Sleeper Intersections CIP Project 2139, which corresponds to the Rainstorf and Junction intersection.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there any second or any other comments before proceeding?
I can second it. I think I defer to staff to really, decide what, because it's not just an engineering thing. It's almost like a CPA type of thing with these ones. And I think you best know, and it's kind of fluid in a way. So you kind of know best what's there, and I definitely defer to you. And I think it seems like a dangerous crossing to start with. I mean, a wide road or things like this, and the way I see it is that that's one step forward to make Rainstorf safer, which is kind of a longer term. So. But I'm second the motions.
Okay, thank you. So we have a second. I'd like to make one comment before calling for a vote. So, I think I'm in general alignment. I would like to say that I'm not so sure that Grant Sleeper would have been my highest when it was first created. Other things have passed it off, but I'm all about getting things across the finish line at this point. So I'm generally aligned with doing it, and seeing Ringsdorf and Junction move up. To me, that fits Vision Zero patterns of, where we had fatalities of 4-lane roads with 35-mile-an-hour speed limits and an unimproved crosswalk. So getting those off our pattern of what is likely to lead to severe injury or fatalities important. So my comments. Are we ready to call for a vote then?
I'm gonna abstain because I'm too early for me to tell.
I just want to make a small comment. I guess what's in my mind is, how cheap these buffered bike lane conversions are comparatively, but I guess the numbers don't include staff time, right? So that's the
Yeah, that's my main calculus there.
that's the fact that isn't obvious when you look at it. It's like, oh, it's so cheap, and let's just spend the money and get, because I definitely bike by these areas, and I think about why there aren't something there. There's a lot of space, plenty of space, but yeah.
I hear you. We've got Middlefield as a quick build project coming up. Let's see how that goes. And if that goes well, we can look at exploring others, especially in the North Bay Shore where there is a little bit more funding available.
Yeah.
But for now, this was our best option, knowing the constraints and the timeline.
And we plan to bring Middlefield to you, so you know exactly what we're talking about in August.
Yeah, I would agree that I'm not so sure buffered bike lanes are the highest priority, given we have some going in. We need a little experience with some of that. But they, I think, are a great project to have queued up. So that when we have a hole or we have some other things cleared away, we can insert them. We ready to call for a vote then? Okay, motion is to endorse the staff recommendation for the Grant Sleeper Intersections project to receive the GDA funding. All in favor? Aye. So
Abstention.
4 in favor, 1 abstention. Okay, thank you. So that closes off item 6.3. Moving to 6.4, the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee recommended member appointment. Brendan, do you have a little background you want to add?
As you know, Lotta Automic, previous member of the BPAC, resigned, and she was your VTA Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee representative, and she provided a monthly report of what occurred at the VTA BPAC meeting and attended. Also, I should mention that. And so we are looking for the BPAC to appoint the new VTA BPAC member.
Yeah, so as a city within the county, we are able to elect a member. to represent the city on that board. It does not have to be a BPAC member for a sitting BPAC member, but you guys have the first right of refusal more than anything. So if there is somebody who would like to take on that commitment and report out, I'll let you all discuss.
And just one point of order, the council may see.
Oh, sorry,
This
I'm
is a
sorry.
recommendation.
This is a recommendation from you yes,
Yeah.
sorry, thank you.
Thank you. So just pointing out the term is approximately 1 year, as stated. So moving on to clarifying questions. Any questions from the committee?
So, what would be the process? I mean, and it's more like a VTA thing, but to have an alternate, because to avoid that situation, or also, you know, if somebody, misses for a meeting for whatever reasons, because I noticed.
I don't think they have alternatives.
So that's a funny thing. So they do have some, but only for the ex officio member, which is a member of the SBC. So which was vacant, and then there is another night that was vacant too, but that's their problem. But they are on any of their agenda, they are ex officio and alternate ex officio, and I don't know. So there must be a process, and somebody must have decided that SFBC, could use alternates, but we can't. I don't know. So
I can't speak to it. I can only speak to other groups often they want continuity, and so they don't have an alternate process. But this is a question if the BPAC would like for us to get an answer to, we can.
yeah, or feedback, or a Mountain Dew representative.
Additional clarifying questions? Okay, moving on to comments from members of the public. Anything anybody on the Zoom line?
There are no hands raised. There are no public comments.
Being no members of the public in the room, and we can move to committee comments. Anyone wish to make a committee comment on this item?
Yeah, I am willing to put myself on the BPAC, if volunteer for that, if no one else wants to. I previously actually had a standing commitment that conflicted on Wednesday evenings that actually also conflicts with this, but that is no more, so I can actually readily attend those meetings, and if it's a problem, then it's only a year-long term and we can sort it out again in a year. But I actually am inclined to, though, also try to inquire at some point about alternates, because that's at least knowing if that exists as an option is not bad, since we have had troubles in the past getting people to volunteer for the VTA BPAC end. If it's something where if you miss it, you can get someone else to attend, that could be helpful for recruiting for that.
Thank you. So Kuzma throwing his head in the ring. Any further comments?
I would have said that I would volunteer if nobody else did, but that's.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Granted me, so.
I would have said I'm not volunteering. We had that comment. Any further discussion? Okay, so I think we're ready to make a motion then to recommend Vice Chair Kuzmal for the term ending June 30th, 2026 to be appointed, or recommended to the council as to be appointed to the VTA Transportation Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Can I make one? Am I allowed to make a recommendation that if alternatives are available, that you are recommending as an alternative? And we'll call, and then if we get a yes, that I can put it into council as one motion instead of.
Yes.
Is that
Excellent.
okay?
I'd be happy to be that.
Clarifying the motion, it includes an alternate.
If alternates are available, we will include member Bonte.
Yep.
Okay, and then just confirming that I'm not volunteering you for things that you're not,
No,
that you're not okay. And if they say no, we'll keep it as is, but if they say yes, we'll add you in there. And I'll send you an email letting you know that you're now.
Oh, yeah.
Now, like,
I won't have to watch the meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have the clarification on the motion. Is there
I will second.
a second? Thank you. Are we ready to call for a vote? All in favor of the proposal? Aye.
Yeah, but.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, concluding item 6.4, moving on to item 7, committee staff comments, announcements, updates, requests, and committee reports. So first off, staff comments.
Great, so Brandon's gonna pull up, I've got a couple slides here just to give you some quick updates. So on our recent events, hopefully you have all seen that we have added our decorative ribbons down Castro Street. So that has been installed on walkways, the 100, 200, and 300 blocks of Castro. And they add a nice visual color and appeal to the Castro Pedestrian Mall. We also participated in a lot of events for Bike Month. So we had Bike to Wherever days with hundreds of people coming into the city to, hundreds of people coming into 3 city-supported energizer stations. Bike education and encouragement took place alongside. And I just want to give kudos to our transportation team because they each went to a different energizer station. So they all participated in our Bike to Wherever days. We also had our El Camino Real bike ride, which included 300 people that rode along El Camino Real from Santa Clara to San Mateo, with a stop at Eagle Park. And again, we had education and encouragement there. And we had County Supervisor AB Coke, yeah, was there. I'll get it next time.
On bike.
Right.
I didn't check.
There's always hope.
There's next year. All right, and then on the next slide, we are working on pedestrian wayfinding signage that will be installed in Castro Street, Hope Street, and Bryant Street between El Camino Real and Central Expressway. Signage will be mounted on existing light poles. It includes key destinations and information to civic facilities only, so City Hall and the library. Signage installation is targeted for this fall and winter. And then just some project updates. Our TDM ordinance is going to council for a study session on June 10th. So that is on the framework that you guys saw probably 3-ish months ago now, but it's made its way through all of the supporting bodies. And so that will get a study session with council. And then we also kicked off our Terra Bella Bikeway feasibility study. Aruna was able to do 3 outreach events at different schools. And so we got some outreach information there. Just a quick reminder, this project just has funding for planning. So that's where we're at on this one. And that's the staff updates.
Okay, thank you for that. We don't normally take questions or comments. It's just an interchange on the staff comments, correct?
We usually go through the process, so if someone did want to make a public comment here,
Okay, let's
if you
go.
have clarifying questions on anything.
Okay.
I actually do have. a
Okay. So let's go with the clarifying questions then.
So
please.
when you say bikeway, is that class 3 bikeway or does it mean something specific? Just seeing what's possible?
Seeing what is possible. It is a very tight roadway. I don't know how familiar you are with it, but it is a very narrow street. And so realistically, the 2 options that will be considered are we keeping street parking or not? And if we are not keeping street parking, we can probably get a bike lane. And I say probably because it is that tight that we might only get one on one direction. So it's just a narrow street, but we're looking at it because it is on a route to the school.
Further clarifying questions?
I had one, I guess, clarification on the work on ECR. There are still some sections of crosswalks that are not they're just gravel. You know, like one that I take every time I come here on shoreline, and I'm not sure when Caltrans will be there.
So they report the entire project completing later this year. However, we should check with our single point of contact, Robert Gonzalez with Caltrans. Robert Gonzalez of the city of Mountain View, who is their single point of contact to Caltrans. And see if we can get a better, more specific answer to you. And maybe they aren't including that. Let me phrase that. They definitely are including that eventually to be put back to a standard of.
Yeah, because it
concrete,
used to be
yes.
not gravel. So-
Yes.
So-
Yeah, not gravel.
that's
That
how-
is not gonna
And
be.
I'll add that we add that in our staff updates
Yeah.
next month,
Okay,
so that,
sure.
and Robert will be here, so he should be able to
Yes, he will be here.
give you a little bit more information.
Thank you. Further clarifying questions? Okay, moving on to public comments on Zoom.
There is no public comment on Zoom.
Members of the public in the room. So going to committee comments
On staff.
on staff. Any other further committee comments?
There, looks like installing the block crossings on El Camino as well. So it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I kind of there, but you have a barrier not to use it. So.
Looking forward to that being done.
Okay, we can close, no motions needed. We can close that item 7.1 on staff comments and move to general committee comments. 7.2.
I have a couple first.
Okay, go ahead, James.
Could we actually introduce our new BPAC members, since I don't think we formally did so in this meeting?
My name
That
is.
was in the preview.
It's all good. I think we forgot to.
Fine, huh?
Apologies.
It's all right, it's all right. My name
Best
is.
for the last, so.
It's okay. My name is Peggy Huang. What else you wanna know about me? Live in Mountain View, couple blocks down, kinda old. What else do you guys wanna know? I practice law for past 25 years, 30 years. Have kids and in the neighborhood, private school, then going to go to public school one day. And interested in doing this because I think I do bicycle myself because I cannot drive. I have neurological disorders. Someday I'll talk to you guys about that, but you guys know. So that's why I'm interested in this.
Thank you.
That's it? More questions?
Clarifying questions.
Sorry we missed that at the beginning. We did talk about it.
We did plan to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one other thing I would mention, that we can't discuss it, is just want to put on the public record that, as a reminder, that the Stevens Creek Trail will be have a lot of one lane flagging situations for much of the summer due to a new bridge installation. And it sounds like a bit over 30 days potentially of 24/7 closures of the underpass under 101 based on public information.
Not consecutively.
They're not consecutive, but they're
Yes.
spread over about 3 or 4 intervals.
Yes.
And so I know I personally had not realized that we were closing it for that many total days over the course of the summer. But that will be happening for anyone who hadn't heard.
And all updates are available on the parks website. And if anyone wants details, they can go there, or if they can email me and I'll get them to our project manager.
Would it be possible to remind people on the VPAC interest list or whatever?
Yes.
That's where they can go to see more current updates?
Yes.
That's all the comments I had in the comment section. So if anyone has clarifying questions on my comments, it might not even be appropriate given the Brown Act, so.
I can have one clarification, or one piggyback question on that, is that who is managing the Stevens Creek Trail, I guess, I don't know. Is
You
it-
mean generally or for this project?
Well, in general, because it's listed on the Parks and Recs, so is it Parks and Recs?
Yes, it's Parks and Recs, and it's Matt Silva, who is who's the supervisor for all the rangers that work on the Stevens Creek Trail.
So that's different than any other street.
Yes.
Yeah, that's,
The work's being done. But the work's being done by public.
oh,
Works.
sure, yeah, but it's more.
Managed by Public
Yeah,
Works. The work is being
correct.
done by a
Managed.
private developer and no taxpayer dollars are being paid or used to create this bridge. So this is a great situation. Even if you don't completely love the location of the bridge, it is a new connection to the trail, to a different part of the community, and the taxpayers do not pay for that.
And I think it's great because I biked to the hotel for brunch a few times, and that's
Quite
Make
honestly,
it
I thought
much
it was supposed to
easier.
go in 5 years ago, but.
Nice.
Oh, really? Okay.
But it is happening and they're paying for inflation.
Facts, and this is why it's so important we don't miss the construction, because it is such an environmentally sensitive area. It has to occur in the summertime. It cannot be spread out, cannot be just done at night because it's environmentally sensitive. So this is
You have to
why
have
it's
guidance
taken so long.
And then I had one comment, so that's really for the next meeting, where I think on the agenda or tentative agenda is El Monte corridor.
Yes.
So that's something I had shared with Ria, but I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure there is, it used to be two different projects, El Monte corridor and the intersection of Escuela, El Monte, El Camino. But because it's one, I live very close to El Monte, but not close at all to the intersection. So if there is any way that the presentation can be split between the two, I can participate in one and not the other. If it's one, I have to recuse myself from everything. So
Yeah, we are keeping it as one and we do have you listed as recusing yourself.
Okay.
So, yeah, we went back and forth on that one, but that was.
And I assume that also applies to me.
You are gonna be on vacation, correct?
Yes, but I would have to
Yes,
recuse
you
myself
would.
anyway.
You would have.
So we need to make sure that
Yes.
you three are here on June 25th, or we will not have
Yeah.
quorum
for
And-
that item.
for that item.
And I want to say kudos to the PM, Catherine Robertson, on this particular project. It is completely on schedule. Completely, the whole way it's been on schedule. So she's hitting her deadlines, and as we talked about before, we're getting ourselves out of this. We're getting ourselves out of this.
Thank you. Any further more comments? I'll add one. I'd like to recognize the fatality of Yi Liang on April 9th. And point out that that is on our high injury network. It is a pattern of intersection that was identified as a Vision Zero pattern where there are crosswalks without a controlled left turn.
Directed left turn.
Protected left turn. That was the same pattern that led to the fatality at Independence in East Charleston of Robert Schwer on February 18th, 2015. So I think we've recognized that pattern. We've been led to that tool through Vision Zero. So it's important that we recognize our work in that area. And now that we have tools to prioritize, we can use those. So in the intersection in Independence and Charleston was fixed probably without a priority and may not have the same level of pedestrian traffic. So it's good it was fixed, but we should recognize and try to adhere to our prioritization and the use of the Vision Zero tools, because they do help us identify likely intersections as it did here. And unfortunately, the changes are going to come too late for Mr. Leong and his family, but this is important work and we've adopted, I believe, what is an appropriate tool. Thank you. Yeah. Any further comments? Okay, we can close off our committee comments. We're going to set the date and time for next meeting. As we heard, we will have the El Monte project under consideration, and we need to have a quorum for that because we have one member, myself, being absent the entire meeting, and member Bante being recused. So that meeting is set for June 25th, our usual last Wednesday of the month at 6:30. The room to be determined. So, given that, I don't know that we have anything else on our calendar to do. So I'd like to call them for closure and adjournment of the meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I